Chapter 261. Attributes increased. In addition to the karmic threads of you and the others, Yizan had also noticed that there seemed to be several karmic threads connected to him from distant places beyond the Nanzhou region. Not only that, but Yizan also sensed some danger from these karmic threads. One of these was likely to originate from the main body of Qian Daoliu. Another had belonged to the master of the Blood Moon Temple, which was the one that had been suddenly severed. This was how Yizan had sensed the other party's death. Who did this? Could it be the beautiful figure in the fog? Yizan muttered to himself. Even after he exhausted the power of karma in his body, all he had managed to make out was that beautiful figure in the fog, and that his fate would be intertwined with that person in the future. It seems that it's time to set off, Yizan said after thinking for a moment. Through the power of karma, he had sensed that the beautiful figure represented an opportunity for him. Of course, he was not in a hurry. This time, not only did he refine the paramita flower, but he also refined other heavenly treasures that could enhance his comprehension value. In addition, the state of epiphany he was in had still not ended, so he had to focus on comprehending the Heavenly Soul 9 Revolutions technique. Meanwhile, Yu, Li Qingyan, and Zhao Yuyan were also cultivating diligently, and their control over their strength had improved significantly. Under Yizan's guidance, Yu, Li Qingyan, and Zhao Yuyan cultivated their spiritual sense tempering techniques for a few days and finally gained perfect control over their own strength. After that, Yizan helped them refine spiritual items that could increase their innate bone value and comprehension value. As Yu's comprehension value was the lowest, Yizan put her at the tail end of the refining process so that she would gain more from the system rewards he obtained from the other two disciples. Hence, among the three of them, Yu's innate bone value and comprehension value had the greatest increase, followed by Li Qingyan and Zhao Yuyan. Zhao Yuyan already had extremely high comprehension and innate bone value, so it was difficult for her to improve in these two areas. A heavenly treasure might be able to increase Yu's comprehension value by 12 points, but only a few points for Zhao Yuyan. Of course, Yizan also benefited from this. After all that, their innate bone value and comprehension value had undergone significant changes. Li Qingyan, comprehension value, 339. Innate bone value, 379. Yu, comprehension value, 299. Innate bone value, 361. Yizan, comprehension value, 709. Innate bone value, 708. Zhao Yuyan, comprehension value, 612. Innate bone value, 639. Yizan's comprehension value and innate bone value had exceeded 700 points, after which he discovered a key point. When both of his attributes exceeded 700 points, the points calculation changed again. Now, any gain in comprehension value or innate bone value would first be divided by 5. So when Li Qingyan's comprehension value increased by 10 points, he received a 4x critical reward. However, instead of increasing by 40 points, Yizan only received 8 points. After doing all this, Yizan performed spiritual power infusion on Yu and the others. Moments later, Yizan's cultivation received a huge boost. Although he did not break through to the pattern condensation realm, his current strength was no weaker than 1. Furthermore, in order to reach the pattern condensation realm, the most crucial requirement was to comprehend the profound patterns of the natural laws of the world. Only by engraving these profound patterns into one's body could a cultivator break through. The profound patterns would grant the cultivator powers based on the characteristics of those patterns. For example, the blood giant that Qian Daoliu had previously transformed into. In addition, cultivators could also use the power of the natural laws of the world to temper their bodies after engraving the profound patterns. It was precisely because of this that the strength of a pattern condensation realm cultivator far exceeded that of a unity realm cultivator. Yizan had only managed to bridge this gap through the fusion of martial intents, which was impossible for ordinary 10th level unity realm experts. After all, there were two crucial conditions to fuse martial intents, which were the strength of one's spiritual sense, as well as sufficient comprehension value. Among the pattern condensation realm cultivators, even being able to fuse two martial intents was considered a difficult feat. This was why Qian Daoliu had been so shocked to see a quadruple intent fusion. Moreover, one of those fused intents was a supreme intent. After the spiritual power infusion, Yizan was as strong as a two-pattern condensation realm expert. In any case, Yizan had 8th level sword intent, so he could engrave a profound pattern based on sword intent on his body at any time. Chapter 262. Yizan's ambition. However, Yi Zan restrained himself. He had the cheat-like system, so engraving a profound pattern based on his sword intent was a waste. There probably had been many legendary experts in the past who had reached the great circle of the pattern condensation realm and engraved 10 profound patterns on their bodies. However, had anyone done so with supreme intents? Could he reach the great circle of the pattern condensation realm by only engraving profound patterns based on supreme intents on his body? Normally, once a pattern condensation realm cultivator had 5 profound patterns engraved on their body, they would be able to break through to the lightning tribulation realm. However, the majority of them were not willing to stop at 5 profound patterns. Any expert who could reach the pattern condensation realm was not an ordinary person. They all had their own ambitions and would naturally want to reach the great circle of the pattern condensation realm. However, due to the nature of their talent, not many cultivators could achieve that feat. Those who could engrave 6 profound patterns were called geniuses, those who could engrave 7 were called peerless, and those who could engrave 8 were called monsters. As for 9, that was basically the publicly known limit for cultivators. It was said that only those with the potential to be emperors and empresses would be able to engrave 10 profound patterns. Once a cultivator had engraved 10 profound patterns, it meant that he or she had already embarked on the path of invincibility. Yi Zan wondered how powerful he would be if all 10 of his profound patterns were derived from supreme intents. Although it was as difficult as ascending to the heavens, it was Yi Zan's ambition. He had the system, so he had to try and achieve the impossible and reach the 6th level for each supreme intent. To achieve this, Yi Zan would need countless opportunities and resources. Looking at the past and present, no cultivator had ever been able to do it, but this was the perfect challenge for him. Yi Zan took a deep breath and cast away the distracting thoughts in his mind. Then, he began to seriously comprehend the Heavenly Soul 9 Revolutions technique. Not far away, Yu, Li Qingyan, and Zhao Yuyan were also cultivating. After the spiritual power infusion, Zhao Yuyan had reached the 10th level of the True Essence realm. Yu had reached the middle stage of the Zudin realm, and Li Qingyan had reached the late stage of the True Core realm. After Yi Zan killed the elders of the 3 major forces, he collected all their storage rings. To his surprise, he found many spiritual items that could strengthen the fire and wood-type special constitutions inside. It was precisely because of this that Li Qingyan's cultivation had advanced by leaps and bounds. Her dual spirit body had advanced to the major mastery stage, which also enhanced Yi Zan's innate dual spirit body. However, neither the innate dual spirit body nor the sword overlord body could be considered a top-notch special constitution. By the time these 2 special constitutions reached the perfection stage, the potential of these 2 special constitutions would have been squeezed dry. Therefore, Yi Zan was currently thinking about finding a new disciple with a strong special constitution that had not been awakened. If he awakened that disciple's special constitution, he would obtain an even stronger one from the system. 5 days passed quickly, after which Yi Zan ended his secluded cultivation. Although his cultivation level had not increased, he had completely comprehended the Heavenly Soul 9 Revolutions technique. In addition, he also comprehended the cultivation methods and martial techniques that he had obtained from the system's rewards. Combined with his comprehension of various martial intents, even he himself did not have a proper grasp of his current strength. It's time to set off. Yi Zan looked in the direction where the karmic thread between him and the master of the Blood Moon Temple had been. He was rather curious. What would be the relationship between the beautiful figure in the fog and him? A master-disciple relationship or... Before he left, Yi Zan called Yu, Li Qingyan, and Zhao Yuyan over. He wanted to conduct an experiment. Since he would be gone for some time, this was the perfect time to do it. According to the system's current rules, as long as Yi Zan participated in the process of improving his disciple's strength, he would be able to receive a reward from the system. Of course, there was a cooldown of 30 days for the same category of strength improvement, so this had to be excluded. Yi Zan had thought of ways to improve his martial intents. The simplest and crudest way was to call his disciples over and display his martial intents to them. The problem with this was that it would take a very long time for his disciples to comprehend his martial intents, as it required a high level of comprehension. Chapter 263. 9th Level Sword Intent. Under normal circumstances, it would take most cultivators hundreds of tears to comprehend a 6th level martial intent, which was the prerequisite for engraving a profound pattern on one's body. 2. Therefore, for most cultivators, this was a long process of accumulation. For example, if Yizan did not assist her, you would take at least 700 years to break through to the same realm as Guangliang. However, with a teacher like Yizan, the situation would be greatly different. Yizan's first experimental subject was you. When he helped you to awaken her sword jade body, this girl had comprehended first-level sword intent. What Yizan had to do now was to help you refine the spiritual items that could provide her with an epiphany experience. After all, if Yu was not in a state of epiphany, even if Yizan personally displayed his sword intent, she would have to spend at least several years to comprehend it and achieve a breakthrough. Yu, I will now display my sword intent. Learn as much as you can. Yizan looked at Yu and said. All right, teacher. Yu nodded obediently. Yunur, Qingyan, you two have to watch carefully. It would be best if you can gain some enlightenment. We will heed teacher's words. The two of them nodded obediently. Yizan motioned to Yu to take out the dreamland grass, which was something he had obtained after giving Yu the withered leaf Bodhi he had obtained from killing Qian Daoliu. It would allow you to enter a state of epiphany for 2 days. It was also because he had given the dreamland grass to Yu that he had received the Paramita flower from the system. In addition, after dealing with the 3 major Foss's elders, he had obtained many heavenly treasures that could increase one's comprehension value. Despite the fact that the cooldown period had yet to end, Yizan had given them to his disciples. After all, he could not be stingy while he was experimenting. Then, with Yizan's help, Yu began to refine the dreamland grass. Discard all distracting thoughts and pay attention to the sword intent I will show you. Yizan's voice rang out in Yu's mind. Under the effect of the dreamland grass, Yu had already entered a state of epiphany, and was fully focused on Yizan and his longsword. 1 man and 1 sword, one with the sword. After that, Yizan used his longsword to perform basic sword techniques. Although these sword techniques were simple and unrefined, they gave off the feeling that they were infused with the natural laws of the world and could not be dodged. Yizan was just standing there, but he was like the incarnation of Sword Dao. Countless insights flooded Yu's mind, and she lost track of time. Her sword intent was rapidly getting stronger. First level sword intent, second level sword intent, third level sword intent, fourth level sword intent. By the end of the state of epiphany, Yu's sword intent had reached the 4th level. Shocking. However, it was somewhat expected. After all, Yizan had comprehended 8th level sword intent, so he could display the appropriate aspects of sword intent to Yu according to her needs. He would only show her what she needed, step by step, never exceeding her level of comprehension. In addition, Yu possessed the sword jade body, which further augmented her comprehension efforts. Even Li Qingyan and Zhao Yuyan would not be able to accomplish this. Li Qingyan was more suited for the wood and fire type martial intents, while Zhao Yuyan's special constitution contained devouring intent, which was on the same level as the creation intent, which was extremely powerful. If Zhao Yuyan could comprehend the devouring intent, augmented by the demon devourer body, she would be able to devour realms, and perhaps even worlds. However, Yizan himself had not comprehended devouring intent, so he had no way of helping Zhao Yuyan in this regard. Ding. The host has helped his disciple comprehend 4th level sword intent and received a randomized 1008x critical reward. Congratulations. The host has comprehended 9th level sword intent. Buzz. As soon as the system's notification ended, the world around them trembled. Terrifying sword intent permeated the air and swept out in all directions. Wherever the sword intent passed, everything trembled and submitted to it. Even Yu's sword intent was affected and seemed to submit to him, which amazed her. Li Qingyan and Zhao Yuyan felt the same way. Further away, the cultivators of the Qingyan sect were shocked and dumbfounded. Chapter 264, Luoyan Mountain Range. In that instant, all of the spiritual energy in the surroundings seemed to have been assimilated, transforming into extremely sharp sword intent. Although the sword intent that filled the sky was not targeting anyone, it made everyone feel breathless. Within a short period of time, the vast sword intent had covered almost half of the Great Qian dynasty. Wherever it passed, even water turned into sharp swords, the flowers and trees instantly turned into sharp weapons, and even the gentle breeze turned into wind blades. This terrified people, who felt like the power of the heavens had descended and might destroy the empire at any moment. In the entire Great Qian dynasty, who else could do this? Yizan's figure immediately appeared in everyone's mind. Buzz. To everyone's relief, the sword intent dissipated very quickly. 9th level sword intent. Perfect level. Yizan's eyes glowed with happiness. His strength had undergone a huge change again. Perfect level sword intent could turn anything into sword chi, which would then be controlled by his spiritual sense. If he were to make another breakthrough, he would need to engrave the profound pattern derived from sword intent. Profound patterns were known as the 10th level of martial intents. With Yizan's current strength, it was very easy for him to break through to the pattern condensation realm, but profound patterns derived from supreme intents were his goal. Normally, any other cultivator in his shoes would have immediately advanced to the pattern condensation realm. After all, perfect level martial intent basically guaranteed a 100% success rate of advancement. Once one's intent had reached the 6th level, one would be able to sense the profound patterns based on the world's natural laws. The higher the level of their martial intent, the higher the success rate of engraving the profound patterns. I wonder how strong I am now. Yizan opened his hand slightly. As soon as his spiritual power swept out, the space around him collapsed instantly. He then repaired the spatial cracks with his spatial intent. It's time to leave. Yizan looked into the horizon as he said this. I'll be leaving the Nanzhou region for a while, so you must cultivate well. Yizan looked at you and the others. Even with the power of karma, Yizan could only vaguely sense the general direction of the karmic threads. He needed to get closer to determine the exact location. Teacher, when you heard this, her gaze was filled with reluctance. Silly girl. As long as you cultivate diligently, you'll also achieve perfect level intent someday. Yizan smiled and patted Yu's head. The sword intent he had displayed just now had a huge impact on Yu. Only cultivators who had comprehend similar martial intents could truly understand the gap between each other. To her, Yizan now felt as far as the heavens were from the earth, and she was afraid that she would be left behind and would never be able to catch up. Yes, teacher. Yu wiped the tears from the corners of her eyes and nodded seriously. All right, it's time for me to go. Yizan took one last look at his disciples, and then his figure suddenly disappeared. Yu, Li Qingyan, and Zhao Yuyan looked at the spot where Yizan had disappeared from in a daze for a long time before finally returning to Lingzhu Peak to cultivate. They did not know when their teacher would return, nor where he was going. However, they had received his instructions, so they had to cultivate properly and make him proud. Yizan turned into a streak of light and flew through the sky. The reason why he did not bring you and the others along was because he had discovered through the power of karma that this trip was extremely dangerous. Therefore, he could only give up on the idea. Yizan traced the vague direction of the severed karmic thread using the power of karma. After 8 days, Yizan finally got close enough to discover the exact location of his destination. About a day later, Yizan arrived in the vicinity of the Starfall mountain range of the Luoyan region. Is this the place? Yizan hovered in the sky and used the power of karma to determine what he needed to do next. Buzz. Yizan waved his sleeve, tore space apart, and entered the resulting spatial crack. Soon, Yizan found the place he was looking for within the spatial turbulence. Is this the entrance to a mystic realm? He narrowed his eyes, and then forced the entrance to open and entered. Boom, boom, boom. As soon as he entered the mystic realm, he saw the sky filled with the power of heavenly lightning. In this vast mystic realm, he could not sense any demonic beasts or spiritual herbs. Everywhere he looked, he could only see the power of heavenly lightning. Ha ha ha, interesting. This is where my opportunity lies. Yizan's eyes lit up. Is it related to my heavenly lightning intent, or that beautiful figure in the fog? Chapter 265. Yizan's Opportunity, Part 1. Like the heavenly lightning pool, this mystic realm was filled with endless power of heavenly lightning. It seems that I have to investigate the identity of that beautiful figure, Yizan said to himself. Although he had failed to see her through the power of karma, Yizan knew that she was here in this mystic realm. Shangguan Wanner had killed the master of the Blood Moon Temple, who was Yizan's mortal enemy. Hence, there was a weak karmic thread between the two. Buzz. Shangguan Wanner, who was in the middle of comprehending heavenly lightning intent, frowned suddenly. Someone was watching her. What? When Yizan saw a woman in white sitting cross-legged on the top of a huge mountain, welcoming the baptism of thousands of bolts of heavenly lightning bolts, he was stunned to see her attributes. Comprehension value. 798. Innate bone value. 798. Undying Zan Huang sword physique unawakened. Awakening condition. 9th level sword intent. Warning. This lady is the reincarnation of an ancient great empress. What? The reincarnation of an ancient great empress? Furthermore, her innate bone value and comprehension value were incredibly high. She also had an unawakened special constitution. In that case, once she awakened the special constitution, how high would her attributes reach? Yi Zan's eyes glowed with desire. She would make a suitable disciple. However, Yi Zan could tell that this woman was extremely powerful and, as the reincarnation of an ancient great empress, this woman naturally had many powerful trump cards. She was not on the same level as the cultivators Yi Zan had seen before. That would not stop him from trying though. He wanted to help her awaken her special sword constitution, as this would awaken his own higher level sword constitution. Yi Zan was eager to get a stronger special constitution. How could he convince her to be his disciple? If she had awakened the memories of her previous life, this would be an uphill task. Of course, he was not in a hurry. If he were to try to convince her now, it was likely that she would reject him, and might even try to attack him. A battle between him and her would probably cause this mystic realm to collapse. A 10th level Unity Realm cultivator wanted to take in a pattern condensation realm expert as a disciple. Would this matter not make people laugh their heads off? Yi Zan glanced at Shangguan Wan'er a few times, then randomly picked a mountain peak and sat down. Shangguan Wan'er sensed that Yi Zan had no other intentions, and her slightly furrowed brows slowly relaxed. Then, she began to comprehend heavenly lightning intent again. Shangguan Wan'er wanted to borrow the power of the endless heavenly lightning bolts to see if she could comprehend the complete form of heavenly lightning intent. It seems that this woman has not awakened much of her previous life's memories, Yi Zan said to himself after observing her for a moment. If the other party had really awakened all of her memories, would it not have been a piece of cake for her to comprehend heavenly lightning intent? Furthermore, she would not have needed to rely on the endless heavenly lightning bolts, and would simply be able to do it from memories alone. I should take advantage of this and try to take her in as a disciple as soon as possible. Yi Zan quickly made a decision. If the woman in white completely awakened her memories, it was likely that Yi Zan would no longer have the possibility of taking her in as a disciple. Therefore, he had to take advantage of this situation and strike while the iron was hot. Shangguan Wan'er had no idea that this young man who had just entered the mystic realm was thinking about how to take her in as a disciple. Moreover, she also had no idea that the Tower of Heaven was in Yi Zan's hands. At this moment, she was completely focused on comprehending heavenly lightning intent, the will of heavenly thunder. Yi Zan also did the same, but soon realized that there was something wrong with this situation. According to the hint given by the power of karma, his opportunity was in this mystic realm, and it was either related to heavenly lightning intent or this woman in white. Although taking her in as his disciple would bring him great benefits, it was not something that was achievable within a short period of time, and it was the same for the comprehension of heavenly lightning intent. Chapter 266. Yi Zan's Opportunity, Part 2. Since these two great opportunities could not be obtained in a short period of time, they naturally could not be considered opportunities that could be sensed by the power of karma. Yi Zan knew that with his current mastery of the power of karma was insufficient to sense opportunities that were too far in the future. In that case, this opportunity is related to the mystic realm itself. Yi Zan's eyes opened slightly, and a golden light flashed across them. Perhaps something had been born in this mystic realm, which was likely why this mystic realm had managed to develop heavenly lightning intent. It was hidden extremely well, concealed by the heavenly lightning intent. If Yi Zan had not consumed a large amount of spiritual power to augment his power of karma, he would not have been able to detect anything. Whoosh! In an instant, an extremely powerful aura suddenly rippled out and covered the entire mystic realm in an instant. What? Shangguan Wan'er, who was sitting cross-legged on her mountain peak, suddenly opened her eyes and looked at Yi Zan in shock. Heavenly lightning intent. This person had actually comprehended the complete form of heavenly lightning intent. Her calm expression changed. She believed that her talent was outstanding. Although she might not be the strongest in the Tianyuan continent, she should not have had a problem claiming that title in the Wangyu zone. However, reality had given her a rude shock. A random cultivator she had encountered in this small mystic realm had comprehended heavenly lightning intent before she did. Who was this person? It was the first time since her reincarnation that she had become interested in someone. Furthermore, Yi Zan looked extremely young, and he was definitely at least a 9th-level Unity Realm expert. This undoubtedly meant that Yi Zan was also a peerless heavens blessed. Yi Zan did not notice the change in her expression. His spiritual sense covered the entire mystic realm, and his own heavenly lightning intent slowly resonated with the mystic realm, searching for that thing. What? That's the complete form of heavenly lightning intent. Who has comprehended it? Why does this person look so unfamiliar? He doesn't seem to be a cultivator from the Luoyuan region. I've never seen this person before, so he must be a cultivator from another region. However, someone like him should be famous. I haven't left the mystic realm in 60 years, yet it seems that another talented monster has emerged in the outside world. Everyone's eyes were filled with shock and began to discuss this matter among themselves. However, Yi Zan could not be bothered with this. I've finally found you. Moments later, Yi Zan's figure suddenly disappeared. When he reappeared at the core area of the mystic realm. Buzz. Yi Zan waved his sleeve, and space was instantly torn apart. Hold on, this sword intent. Seeing this, Shengguan Wanner's eyes narrowed, and a hint of shock flashed across the depths of her eyes. 7th level sword intent. It was the same as hers. However, seconds later, Shengguan Wanner was even more shocked. While Yi Zan was tearing space apart, he seemed to be hindered by some mysterious force. Frowning, he put 2 fingers together, and sword intent that made the world pale in comparison erupted. Boom! The entire mystic realm trembled. 9th level sword intent. Perfect level. Shengguan Wanner had never been so shocked and beside herself since she regained part of her memories from her previous life. The moment Yi Zan made his move, she realized that he was a 10th level Unity Realm expert. A mere 10th level Unity Realm expert actually comprehended the complete form of a legendary supreme intent, as well as perfect level sword intent. If Yi Zan was not some old monster deliberately hiding his strength, then his cultivation talent was definitely unfathomably high. What's he doing though? Shengguan Wanner looked at Yi Zan with confusion. However, moments later, after Yi Zan tore space apart, his figure disappeared, and the mystic realm started to tremble as spatial cracks appeared everywhere. Was this mystic realm about to collapse? Not good. The mystic realm appears to be collapsing. Everyone's expression changed drastically upon seeing what was going on. Why had this suddenly happened? Boom, boom, boom. As the spatial cracks expanded, the world inside the mystic realm quickly collapsed. The cultivators present started tearing space apart and fleeing the mystic realm. The heart of heavenly lightning. In the deepest area of the mystic realm, in a pitch-black space, there was a pearl in Yi Zan's hand that contained the power of heavenly lightning. His eyes glowed. This was his opportunity he had sensed through the power of karma. This pearl was what formed this mystic realm after countless years of evolution. Buzz. Yi Zan immediately put it away. His spatial intent erupted, and his figure suddenly disappeared. Inside the spatial turbulence, no one could detect Yi Zan's traces. Spatial intent. At that moment, Shengguan Wanner, who had just left the mystic realm, felt spatial fluctuations in her surroundings. What was the origin of this person? Not only had he comprehended heavenly lightning intent, but also spatial intent, 2 supreme intents. What happened to the mystic realm? Why can I no longer sense it? Is it really disappearing? Inside the spatial turbulence, everyone looked at the disappearing mystic realm with dismayed looks on their faces. Why had this happened all of a sudden? Their opportunity was lost. With the collapse of the mystic realm, the giant mountains with endless heavenly lightning bolts suddenly appeared in the space turbulence. However, the destructive power contained in the spatial turbulence soon devoured the giant mountains. From today onward, this mystic realm would never appear ever again. Chapter 267. Heavenly Tao's Restrictions. All of this was due to the appearance of that young man. However, Yi Zan quickly restrained his aura and disappeared. No one could sense his aura within the spatial turbulence. In any case, after what they had seen, who would dare to chase him? They had just encountered an expert with perfect level sword intent, so they were helpless. Still, they were extremely curious about his identity. Shengguan Wanner hovered within the spatial turbulence and remained silent. She speculated that Yi Zan was also the reincarnation of an ancient expert. After all, even she had not managed to achieve such feats as a 10th level Unity Realm cultivator. 1. There was no other possible explanation for it. Furthermore, from the looks of it, she was certain that Yi Zan's cultivation level in his previous life was on par with hers, or even stronger than hers. This guy's ambition is quite big. He can easily advance to the pattern condensation realm, but he's deliberately restraining himself. To someone like her, Yi Zan's intentions were obvious, especially after she realized that he had comprehended 2 supreme intents. That's crazy. He will definitely fail, Shengguan Wanner muttered to herself. Yi Zan's cultivation talent might be extremely monstrous, but reaching the great circle of the pattern condensation realm with only supreme intents was madness. How long would it even take? Even if she cultivated for her entire lifetime, such a feat might not be achievable. The difficulty of comprehending supreme intents was mind-boggling, and each one might take thousands of years, if not more. There was simply not enough time. Unity realm experts, or even pattern condensation realm experts, could not live forever. Most would be forced to advance to the next realm due to circumstances, or give up entirely due to the difficulty. This was also why so many experts chose the path of reincarnation to improve themselves after they reached an unbreachable bottleneck in their cultivation. In the entire Tianyuan continent, there were actually quite a few ancient almighty experts who had chosen to reincarnate, but not a single one of them had been this audacious. Shangguan Wanner herself had reached the great circle of the pattern condensation realm in her previous life, but not with supreme intents. Even as an ancient great empress, not all of the profound patterns that she had engraved on her body at the pattern condensation realm were of the highest level. It was precisely because of this that she chose to reincarnate. However, something as ambitious as Yizan's objective was completely unattainable. She would be satisfied with just a few supreme intents. After thinking about it for a while, Shangguan Wanner regained her composure, and then tore space apart to create a passage back to the Miaoling region. She planned to go back to the Luo Heaven Palace first. She had established the Luo Heaven Palace after she had awakened a portion of her memories. Having a force under her control made things convenient. The additional manpower would allow her to search for more opportunities as well as obtain more resources. In particular, heavenly treasures that could increase one's innate bone value and comprehension value were what she valued the most. As the reincarnation of an ancient great empress, Shangguan Wanner was aware of the importance of these heavenly treasures. It's a pity that I still haven't comprehended the power of reincarnation. As Shangguan Wanner flew through the spatial passage, she sighed deeply. There were two conditions to completely awaken the memories of her previous life. First, she had to be strong enough. Secondly, she had to comprehend reincarnation intent, which was a legendary supreme intent. If she could do this, her memories and insights from her previous life would be freely accessible in her mind, and her cultivation would advance by leaps and bounds. That being said, the heavenly Tao had its own restrictions, and it would not tolerate anomalies that broke the balance of the world, so she had to be careful. Chapter 268, Titan Ape. Boom. While Shangguan Wanner was deep in thought, powerful spiritual energy fluctuations suddenly spread out from the depths of spatial turbulence. It seemed to be formed from the fusion of many different intents, and had world-shaking power. It's him. Seeing this, Shangguan Wanner was surprised. She did not expect to encounter Yizan while traveling through spatial turbulence. Earlier, in the mystic realm, she had already taken note of Yizan's aura, so she could easily recognize it. Let's see what this guy is up to. Shangguan Wanner's eyes flickered, and then she disappeared. Ever since she had awakened her memories of her past life, Yizan was the first cultivator who had piqued her interest. Boom, boom, boom. The chaotic space was filled with violent and destructive spiritual energy fluctuations. Yizan's eyes were cold. After he got the heart of the heavenly lightning, he planned to rush back to the Qingyun sect. The heart of heavenly lightning was an extremely rare heavenly treasure, and would greatly benefit Yizan's comprehension of heavenly lightning intent. This thing was born in spatial turbulence, which was the space one would enter if one was sucked into a spatial crack. Compared to the outside world, spatial turbulence was extremely dangerous. It contained chaotic energy and was filled with violent and destructive energy fluctuations. Any cultivators below the fourth level of the Unity realm who entered the spatial turbulence would definitely die. However, danger was often accompanied by opportunities, and the heart of heavenly lightning was one such opportunity. This object was formed by the laws of lightning in spatial turbulence after countless years of refinement. It contained the purest form of heavenly lightning power. The heart of the heavenly lightning drifted about in spatial turbulence as it was being refined, and gradually was imbued with spatial intent and developed its own space, which was the lightning tribulation mystic realm. It hid itself deep within the mystic realm as it evolved. It was because of this that cultivators could use the lightning tribulation mystic realm to comprehend heavenly lightning intent. Originally, even the spiritual sense of a pattern condensation realm expert would not be able to detect its existence. However, Yizan also had the power of karma, which directed him toward this opportunity. After that, Yizan relied on his first-level heavenly lightning intent to meld into the surroundings and safely take it away. Since the heart of heavenly lightning was the core of the mystic realm, it naturally collapsed after that. As long as he refined the heart of heavenly lightning, Yizan's comprehension of heavenly lightning intent would advance by leaps and bounds. Perhaps he would be able to use heavenly lightning intent to engrave his first profound pattern. However, Yi Zan preferred to see if he could get a higher-level heavenly treasure from the system by giving it to his disciple. Along the way, he encountered a powerful enemy in spatial turbulence. It was a high-level demonic beast that had gone berserk, specifically, a Tier 7 demonic beast whose strength was equivalent to a pattern condensation realm expert. This was a titan ape with boundless strength. As soon as it spotted Yi Zan, it raised its mountain-like fist, and rushed in his direction. Even Yi Zan found it quite troublesome. This was the most powerful enemy he had ever encountered. The titan ape had engraved 4 profound patterns on its body, which were derived from fist, mountain, earth and vibration intents. Not only that, this titan ape had even fused its own fist intent with vibration intent. Combined, these two intents possessed extremely powerful offensive power. It was as if layers of ocean waves were stacking up, and each layer was more terrifying than the last. If it was only this, it would not have been a problem for Yi Zan. However, it had also fused a third intent, which was mountain intent. Even Yi Zan was quite surprised by this. Demonic beasts were known for having tough physical bodies and heightened physical abilities. However, compared to humans, their comprehension ability was far lower. Yet now, this titan ape was actually able to fuse 3 intents. It was shocking. Moreover, these 3 intents were all focused on strength. One could imagine the power that erupted when they were fused together. Furthermore, as a demonic beast, its body was very tough, so even Yi Zan had trouble penetrating its defense, which was further fortified by its earth intent. Of course, if he used his triple or quadruple intent fusion, things would be different. In the end, his intentions were simple, which was to comprehend the martial intents this titan ape had mastered. After all, if he could comprehend them, it would greatly reduce the difficulty of him comprehending intents related to power in the future. However, things quickly changed when, out of nowhere, another 10 titan apes appeared. Moreover, every titan ape's cultivation level was identical. What was going on here? Furthermore, it was obvious that they knew how to work together with each other. When this happened, Yi Zan suddenly understood why he had sensed the danger through the power of karma when he was at the Qingyan sect. There was something strange about this whole situation. Why would these demonic beasts appear in spatial turbulence? Yi Zan's heart was filled with doubts. Tier 4 demonic beasts would have the intelligence level of a child, and once they reached Tier 5, they would have the intelligence level of an ordinary human, and could easily communicate with humans. However, these titan apes' expressions seemed dull and lacking sentience. They felt like puppets. Chapter 269. Sudden changes in the situation. Who is the mastermind behind this situation? Yi Zan frowned. Unfortunately, his comprehension of karmic intent, so he could not sense the other party's karmic thread during the battle. Boom, boom. As the two sides fought, destructive energy fluctuations rippled out. If it was in the outside world, these energy fluctuations would have been enough to destroy an empire. I can't let this drag out for too long. Moments later, his sword, fire and wood intents fused. Fortunately, he had perfect level sword intent, which had greatly enhanced his strength. Otherwise, Yi Zan would not be able to fight these titan apes with just triple intent fusion. I'll kill half of them first. The long sword in Yi Zan's hand erupted with dazzling sword chi, and he split the titan apes in half with one strike. He was about to use his quadruple intent fusion to finish off half of them when he suddenly realized someone was there. It's actually her. Yi Zan checked it out and was speechless. He had not expected that the energy fluctuations from his battle would attract Shangguan Wanner. In the distance, she was hovering in spatial turbulence, quietly watching Yi Zan fight the titan apes, not wanting to interfere. However, while she was observing the fight, space rippled again, and another group of demonic beasts appeared. Aside from titan apes, there were also nether snakes and lightning giants. Their eyes were bloodshot, and they attacked Shangguan Wanner without hesitation. Seeing this, her expression changed. She did not expect to be targeted as well. Get lost. Shangguan Wanner's gaze turned cold, and a sharp sword chi erupted, instantly crushing a nether snake. On the other side, Yi Zan had fused fire, wind, sword and heavenly lightning intents. However, this was not the end. In the space turbulence, countless transparent small swords suddenly appeared, transforming into a sword formation that covered the sky and engulfed the 11 titan apes. A middle-grade heaven-rank technique. However, with Yi Zan's current strength, he could not unleash the full power of this martial technique. Still, augmented by his perfect level sword intent, the power of the sword formation was nothing to scoff at. Buzz. Moments later, the 11 Titan apes instantly turned into fine powder, completely dead. This was Yi Zan's most powerful sword strike. Such power. Seeing this, Shangguan Wanner's eyes flashed. A mere 10th level Unity Realm cultivator's power actually made her heart palpitate. Shangguan Wanner became even more certain that Yi Zan was the reincarnation of an ancient almighty expert. On the other hand, Yi Zan's expression did not relax in the slightest after dealing with these Titan apes. The sense of danger in his heart had not dissipated. Then, amidst the pitch-black spatial turbulence, an extremely violent aura suddenly filled the air. Moments later, an incomparably huge hand suddenly tore space apart, revealing the figure of a huge black giant. The black giant's aura was even more powerful than the Titan apes. Boom! The black giant was almost 500 meters tall, and its mountain-like fist smashed toward Yi Zan. Clang! At this moment, a huge tower suddenly appeared in front of Yi Zan, blocking the black giant's attack. Tower of Heaven. After Shangguan Wanner killed a lightning giant with one strike, she spotted the Tower of Heaven that she had been looking for. So it was in this guy's hands. The words, Tower of Heaven, on the tower shone with a bright light. No matter how terrifying the black giant's fist was, the Tower of Heaven remained undamaged. 5 profound patterns. This black giant had also fused 3 martial intents, which gave Yi Zan an unprecedented sense of pressure, which was why he chose to bring out the Tower of Heaven. Still, although the black giant could not harm him now, neither could he do anything to it. However, if Yi Zan wanted to solve this predicament, there was a way. As long as he engraved the profound pattern using his sword intent, he would be able to advance to the pattern condensation realm and kill this black giant with a single strike. However, Yi Zan did not do so. At the very least, this black giant was not enough to force Yi Zan into a desperate situation. Sword Overlord Body. Major Mastery Stage. Innate Dual Spirit Body. Major Mastery Stage. In addition to his Heaven rank martial techniques. Although Yi Zan still could not fully display the power of these Heaven rank martial techniques, with the addition of his perfect level sword intent, and the power of his quadruple intent fusion, Yi Zan's combat power would reach an unimaginable level. Boom, boom, boom. Moments later, Yi Zan slowly raised the longsword in his hand. The power of thousands of lightning bolts suddenly condensed, filling the air with a world-shaking aura. Chapter 270. Do you want it? This sword strike, imbued with the power of heavenly lightning, tore through the endless spatial turbulence. Buzz. The black giant's body was suddenly split in half. The terrifying power of heavenly lightning wreaked havoc on its body, preventing it from healing itself. Roar. The black giant roared as a strange dark power gushed out of its wound, instantly dispelling the destructive sword chi and the power of heavenly lightning. Then, its body reformed and became whole again, and it smashed its fist in Yi Zan's direction once more. Clang. Unfortunately, it could do nothing to the Tower of Heaven. The black giant's eyes were filled with monstrous anger as it madly swung its fists at the Tower of Heaven. Clang, clang, clang. The black giant's fist smashed against the Tower of Heaven like a lunatic. However, Yi Zan did not plan on dealing with the black giant immediately. After all, there were precious martial intents to be comprehended. How could he miss this opportunity? Buzz. At the same time, Shangguan Wanner killed all of the demonic beasts on her side. After doing all this, Shangguan Wanner's gaze turned to Yi Zan again. However, Shangguan Wanner's thoughts were exactly the same as Yi Zan's. She planned to use the black giant to comprehend martial intents. Yi Zan saw Shangguan Wanner's actions and was speechless. This woman, she was planning on using him as a tool. I'm not going to fight for free and for someone else's benefit. There's no such thing as a free lunch. Suppress. Yi Zan's eyes flashed with brilliant divine light, and the Tower of Heaven in front of him suddenly expanded countless times. Its vast spatial intent completely enveloped the black giant, pulling it into the Tower of Heaven amidst its deafening roars. Soon, it shrank rapidly and was trapped in the Tower of Heaven. Inside the Tower of Heaven, the black giant exploded with violent power, trying to tear space apart. Unfortunately, it was useless. Unless the black giant had a power that surpassed that ancient almighty expert, it would definitely not be able to break free from the shackles of the Tower of Heaven. Buzz. Moments later, the Tower of Heaven turned into a streak of light and entered Yi Zan's forehead. Why did you capture it? I can help you kill it. Seeing this, Shangguan Wanner frowned. She was of course aware that Yi Zan wanted to use the battle to comprehend martial intents, but now that Yi Zan had captured the black giant, the meaning behind it was self-evident. It's better to capture it and bring it home as a sparring partner. This place is too boring. Yi Zan looked at Shangguan Wan'er indifferently. Shangguan Wan'er's gaze turned cold. How could she not know Yi Zan's purpose? He clearly did not want her to comprehend the martial intents of the black giant. Do you also want to use it as a sparring partner? Or do you mean that I have something you want? Yi Zan smiled faintly. HMPH. Shangguan Wan'er snorted and immediately turned her head away. As the reincarnation of an ancient great empress, her goal was naturally to comprehend those supreme intents. Of course, she was also interested in Yi Zan's Tower of Heaven. However, given her status, she would not go as far as to snatch Yi Zan's things. Moreover, after seeing Yi Zan fight, trying to do so was meaningless. She was not sure if she could beat him, and even if she could, he could easily escape. She also believed that he was the reincarnation of some ancient almighty expert, and had many trump cards. If you want it, I can give it to you. But you have to agree to one condition. Yi Zan looked at Shangguan Wan'er with a meaningful look. He wanted to take Shangguan Wan'er as his disciple as soon as possible. He coveted her undying Zan Huang sword physique. Chapter 271, Condition. After all, the more time passed, the more likely it was that Shangguan Wan'er would obtain a spiritual item that could allow her to experience an epiphany. When that happened, she might be able to awaken her special constitution by herself, and Yi Zan would lose out on a precious opportunity to gain a strong sword constitution. HMPH. Do you think I care? Shangguan Wan'er looked at Yi Zan and replied coldly. However, her heart was in turmoil. Just now, when Yi Zan used the Tower of Heaven, she could clearly sense the spatial intent contained within it. Needless to say, this was extremely tempting. Of course, if she knew that the Tower of Heaven also contained traces of karmic intent, she would not have been able to restrain herself. It's not a harsh condition. Yi Zan looked at Shangguan Wan'er with a teasing look. If he could take in a Sunere Empress as his disciple, that would be a pretty good feeling. Oh, then what is your condition? Tell me about it, and I might consider it. Hearing this, Shangguan Wan'er's heart was moved slightly, but she did not show it on her face, putting on a cold and aloof look. It's simple. Take me as your teacher, Yi Zan said with a smile. What? You want to be my teacher? HMPH. With your current cultivation level, can you even defeat me? Shangguan Wan'er's eyes narrowed slightly, and her body exuded a threatening aura. That condition was truly ridiculous. As the reincarnation of an ancient great empress, how could she take someone else as her teacher? Moreover, with her strength and talent, did she even need a teacher? With the memories of her previous life, she had countless martial techniques and cultivation methods at her disposal. As for the spiritual items that could increase a cultivator's comprehension value and innate bone value, she could fight for them with her own strength. Why would she need to rely on others? Even though Yi Zan was likely to be the reincarnation of an ancient almighty expert, Shangguan Wan'er still found it funny. What's wrong? Do you think I'm not qualified to be your teacher? Yi Zan was not surprised at all. However, he was also clear about Shangguan Wan'er's objectives. As the reincarnation of an ancient great empress, coupled with her pattern condensation realm cultivation, what this woman needed the most was a spiritual item that could provide her with an epiphany. Only then would she be able to comprehend stronger martial intents and reawaken more of her past life's memories. As long as this woman was attracted to the Tower of Heaven, everything was still on the table. Buzz. Yi Zan's right hand opened slightly, and a purple bead filled with destructive power suddenly appeared. If you take me as your teacher, I can also give you this. Yi Zan looked at Shangguan Wan'er and said with a teasing look. What? A heart of heavenly lightning. Seeing this, Shangguan Wan'er could no longer remain calm. She looked at the purple bead in Yi Zan's hand with a dazed look, and knew very well that this was no ordinary object, but a spiritual item that contained the purest power of heavenly lightning. A heart of heavenly lightning. In her awakened memories, there were records of this spiritual item. This was an extremely rare heavenly treasure. If a cultivator refined it, their heavenly lightning intent would advance by leaps and bounds. However, the difficulty of refining it was also extremely high. The cultivator had to already have comprehended heavenly lightning intent, or at least the embryonic form of heavenly lightning intent. Otherwise, not only would they not be able to refine it, but they might also be devoured by the violent power of heavenly lightning. In addition, there were strict requirements for the strength of the cultivator, which was the 7th level of the Unity realm. Only cultivators who had reached this level had divine elements capable of resisting the destructive power of heavenly lightning. Finding such a heavenly treasure was dependent on luck and fate. If one was not fated, even if the heavenly treasure was right next to them, they would not be able to detect it. The lightning tribulation mystic realm had existed for countless years, but before Yizan, no cultivator had ever discovered the existence of the heart of heavenly lightning. The lightning tribulation mystic realm. You found it inside the mystic realm. Shangguan Wanner had a look of realization. She finally understood why the mystic realm had suddenly collapsed. Thinking this, Shangguan Wanner looked deeply at Yizan. As the reincarnation of an ancient great empress, she could be considered someone who possessed great fate. Even so, she had not discovered the heart of heavenly lightning despite being in the mystic realm several days longer than Yizan. Sensing Shangguan Wanner's gaze, Yizan's lips curled up slightly, and he looked straight at her. HMPH. When Shangguan Wanner saw this, she immediately turned her head away arrogantly, trying her best to resist the impulse to stare at the heart of heavenly lightning. It was impossible for her to take Yizan as her teacher. I'm the reincarnation of an ancient great empress. If I were to casually acknowledge someone as my teacher for the sake of my item, my pride would suffer a blow. Moreover, Shangguan Wanner did not think that Yizan would really give the heart of heavenly lightning to her. It was far too valuable. Did he really take her for a fool? If she did not suspect that Yizan was the reincarnation of an ancient almighty expert, Shangguan Wanner would have tried to snatch it. Yizan looked at the proud Shangguan Wanner and could not help but raise an eyebrow. Very good, very good. She was obviously very tempted, but she pretended not to care. Chapter 272, Demon Zone. Yizan was clear that he could not be too hasty when dealing with a tsundere. He just had to throw in a few more tidbits to slowly pull her in. My future precious disciple, just wait for your teacher to conquer you. Yizan did not say anything else. He turned into a streak of light and headed into the depths of spatial turbulence. Buzz. However, at that moment, Shangguan Wanner also moved. Why are you following me? Shangguan Wanner said. Yizan looked at Shangguan Wanner, and then used spatial intent to teleport in front of her. You're so silly. Seeing this, Shangguan Wanner gritted her teeth. Ever since she had met this guy, she could no longer maintain her usual calm demeanor. This guy's speed was slower than hers, so she said that Yizan had been following her. However, he had teleported in front of her now. Their roles had been reversed. Moreover, it seemed that they were actually headed in the same direction. When he encountered the Titan apes earlier, Yizan had already felt that something was not right. He had been attacked for no reason, and without warning. Were it not for his monstrous strength, he would have died. At first, Yizan had guessed that it might be a powerful spiritual controller behind those demonic beasts. However, after careful consideration, Yizan was relieved that it did not seem to be the case. Those demonic beasts had gone berserk, and exuded monstrous killing intent. They were simply mindless killing machines. In other words, even if it was not Yizan who showed up, but other cultivators, they would still be attacked by these demonic beasts. At this moment, the black giant that was trapped in the Tower of Heaven was still frantically attacking the Tower of Heaven like a tireless machine. When he saw the killing intent in its eyes, a certain top-notch martial intent appeared in his mind, slaughter intent. This was an extremely powerful martial intent which was only inferior to the supreme intents. It was on the same level as devouring intent and creation intent. It was rumored that an ancient almighty expert had once comprehended slaughter intent and used it to become a peerless god of war, crushing his enemies. Furthermore, comprehending slaughter intent would greatly enhance the cultivator's strength. However, there was a huge risk involved. If one failed in the process of comprehension, they would lose their mind to the slaughter intent and become mindless killing machines. The demonic beasts that attacked Yizan and Shangguan Wanner just now exhibited symptoms indicating that they had failed in their comprehension of slaughter intent. Therefore, even if they did not encounter Yizan and Shangguan Wanner, they would have killed anyone else they came across. Yizan speculated that there might be something related to the slaughter intent in the depths of spatial turbulence. Yizan immediately activated the power of karma in his body to investigate the surroundings. Soon, he came to a conclusion. Although this trip was somewhat dangerous, it was also accompanied by great opportunities. In that case, what was there to hesitate about? Not far away, Shangguan Wanner also had similar thoughts. Thus, both of them headed toward the same destination. As they gradually approached the depths of spatial turbulence, the void power that was wreaking havoc in the surroundings became even more terrifying. The sky was filled with fragmented spaces as far as the eye could see. Weaker Unity Realm experts would have long died in such a situation. After the two of them passed through countless spatial storms, they finally saw a strange light in the depths of the spatial turbulence. This strange light was also known as a spatial membrane, and there were usually small worlds or mystic realms inside. However, spatial membranes were extremely tough, and ordinary cultivators would not be able to penetrate it at all. It seems that this mystic realm is at least as large as the Moon Demon mystic realm. The two of them had the same thought. With Yizan's strength, even if he entered the Moon Demon mystic realm, he could easily tear space apart to leave. However, doing so would very likely send him to a random location. I wonder where this mystic realm is connected to. It doesn't seem to be part of the Wangyu zone. Yizan frowned slightly. As he possessed spatial intent, he was naturally very sensitive to such things. This spatial membrane was rippling with spatial power, and it was clearly the entrance to the mystic realm. However, what puzzled Yizan was that this entrance seemed to be connected to an extremely distant place. In any case, since I'm already here, I have to go in and take a look. With this thought in mind, Yizan took out his sword and swung it at the spatial membrane, tearing it apart. Buzz! Yizan's figure suddenly disappeared and, when he reappeared, he was already inside the mystic realm. There was a blood-red aura wherever he looked, and the spiritual energy in this mystic realm seemed extremely violent. Buzz! At that moment, Shangguan Wan'er also arrived. The killing intent here is so dense. I'm afraid that those demonic beasts came from this mystic realm. Seeing this, Shangguan Wan'er had a look of realization. This mystic realm was filled with killing intent. Even the flowers and trees were covered in blood. If a cultivator's willpower was not strong enough, they would be instantly bewitched by this killing intent. Roar! Suddenly, a deafening roar was heard from the distance. A demonic beast. And not just one. Boom, boom, boom. A wave of violent energy fluctuations wreaked havoc in the surroundings, creating spatial cracks everywhere. Two Tier 7 demonic beasts were fighting each other, both of which were as strong as pattern condensation realm experts. Boom. The two demonic beasts were fighting like lunatics, disregarding their own safety, and the many spatial cracks around them. Seeing this, Yizan narrowed his eyes. It was almost certain that those demonic beasts that attacked them earlier were from this mystic realm. Buzz! Yizan turned into a streak of light and flew into the distance. There were opportunities in this mystic realm. Although the mystic realm was vast, Yizan could teleport within a certain range, which allowed him to cover a lot of ground within a very short span of time. After some time, Yizan discovered that the living beings in this mystic realm were basically all demonic beasts. There was not a single human. As this secret realm connected to the demon zone. The demon zone was an area that was larger than even the Wangyu zone. It was the territory of demonic beasts. Furthermore, demonic beasts were mortal enemies with humans. Any human that dared to set foot in the demon zone would be hunted down and killed. Chapter 273. Datura Flower. Is my opportunity here related to slaughter intent? As he traversed the mystic realm, many thoughts flashed through Yizan's mind. Slaughter intent was second only to supreme intents. If he could comprehend slaughter intent, it would be quite beneficial to his cultivation and strength. Perhaps it could serve as a contingency plan if he failed in comprehending all 10 supreme intents and engraving them as profound patterns on his body. After all, comprehending 10 sixth level and above supreme intents was a tall order. While not exactly on the same level, devouring and slaughter intents would suffice as passable replacements. At the same time, Shangguan Wan'er was also searching for opportunities in this mystic realm. However, she did not choose to go in the same direction as Yizan. In order to find the opportunities as soon as possible, and to avoid the interference of those irrational demonic beasts, Shangguan Wan'er concealed her aura. As she journeyed through the mystic realm, she noticed that the weakest demonic beasts here were tier 6 ones, and all of them would fight the moment they encountered another demonic beasts. As a result, there was fighting everywhere in the mystic realm. She sighed. Demonic beasts were not known for their intelligence in the first place, which was proven by the fact that they had tried to comprehend this dangerous martial intent and failed. Suddenly, Shangguan Wan'er discovered that there was a blood-red saber inside the corpse of a giant demonic beast. This was no ordinary demonic beast, but a flood dragon that was several thousand feet long. Looking at the corpse, it seemed to have been dead for tens of thousands of years. Despite that, it was intact, and was still exuding spiritual pressure. It was obvious that although its physical body was intact, its soul had been destroyed. Is this the source? When Shangguan Wan'er saw this, she narrowed her eyes, a look of surprise flashing across them. This blood-red saber contained extremely pure slaughter intent. If her guess was correct, these mindless demonic beasts had all been affected by the slaughter intent contained within this blood-red saber. HMPH. It's finally my turn to gain something. Shangguan Wan'er looked around and did spot Yi Zan anywhere. The corners of her mouth curled up into a beautiful arc. Although slaughter intent was weaker than the supreme intents, it was still an amazing find that would enhance her strength greatly if she engraved it as a profound pattern on her body. Furthermore, just by looking at the blood-red saber, Shangguan Wan'er felt as if she had fallen into a blood-red world, with mountains of corpses and seas of blood everywhere. However, as the reincarnation of an ancient great empress, her soul was extremely powerful and could resist the allure of the slaughter intent. Even so, Shangguan Wan'er could not help but feel a desire to kill, as if something was egging her on. A voice kept echoing in the depths of her mind. Kill, 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 roar. Around the blood-red saber, many powerful demonic beasts were fighting madly. Suddenly, Shangguan Wan'er's eyes flashed, and her figure suddenly appeared in front of the blood-red saber. However, no matter how hard she tried, she could not pull it out of the corpse. With Shangguan Wan'er's current strength, she could easily tear space apart with a wave of her hand. Yet she could do nothing to this blood-red saber. Shangguan Wan'er realized that the blood-red saber seemed to have fused with the flood dragon's corpse, and the two could not be separated. Left with no other choice, Shangguan Wan'er could only put the flood dragon's corpse into her storage ring. This mystic land must have been sealed for a long time. I don't know why it suddenly opened, Shangguan Wan'er thought to herself. The blood-red saber was so precious that it would have been taken away by other experts the moment it was discovered. The fact that it was here meant that the mystic realm was not accessible. I didn't think that this blood-red saber would contain an inheritance. Divine Lord Frenzy Saber. It even contains a battle formation. This saber is extraordinary. Shangguan Wan'er's spiritual sense examined the blood-red saber, and a look of surprise flashed across her eyes. Now, she finally understood why the demonic beasts that had attacked Yi Zan earlier were capable of using a formation and working together. It had to do with this blood-red saber. Boom, boom, boom. Just as Shangguan Wan'er was putting away the corpse and the blood-red saber, the entire mystic realm suddenly trembled. Roar. Damned humans. A deafening roar was heard, followed by a shout that was filled with monstrous killing intent. What kind of existence did that guy provoke this time? Why is he fighting again? Seeing this, a strange light flashed across her eyes, and then her figure suddenly disappeared. Clang! A huge golden demonic ape swung its fist against the Tower of Heaven. Yi Zan frowned. This golden demonic ape was much stronger than the black giant that he had subdued before. Moreover, it had retained some semblance of intelligence and sentience. It had blocked Yi Zan's path, preventing him from reaching the opportunity he had sensed. Originally, Yi Zan's objective was the same as Shangguan Wan'er's, which was to find the source of the slaughter intent. However, when he swept the surroundings with his spiritual sense, which was infused with his power of karma, he detected another opportunity. It was the Datura flower, otherwise known as the slaughter paramita flower. It took 1,000 years for the Datura flower to bloom, and the same was true for the flower to wither. Some people also called it the flower of the netherworld shore. In short, there were many legends about the flower. In essence though, the Datura flower only had one use, which was to increase the comprehension value of the cultivator and provide a precious opportunity to experience an epiphany. The Datura flower in front of Yi Zan was delicate and alluring, and its petals were filled with strong killing intent. The surrounding environment was filled with mountains of corpses and seas of blood. After absorbing the endless killing intent from the demonic beasts that fought in its vicinity, this Datura flower far exceeded other normal Datura flowers. Chapter 274. Teasing the Sunere Empress. Originally, this mystic realm was hidden deep within the spatial turbulence, and no one could discover it at all. It was only when the entrance of the mystic realm was connected to the demon zone that countless demonic beasts entered. Under the influence of the slaughter intent, those demonic beasts with terrifying strength immediately turned into mindless killing machines. Honestly, had it not been for those titan apes tearing space apart, Yi Zan would not have discovered the traces of this mystic realm. By sheer coincidence, the golden demonic ape discovered the Datura flower at the same time as Yi Zan, and began to fight him for it. Their battle caused countless spatial cracks to rip open around them. With the precious Datura flower as the prize, neither man nor demonic beast took a single step back. Other than being able to increase a cultivator's comprehension value and provide an epiphany opportunity, the datura flower also had two other effects that countless cultivators would go crazy for. As long as one refined the flower, it would make it much easier for the cultivator to comprehend slaughter intent and reincarnation intent. Its value was no less than the heart of heavenly lightning. Reincarnation intent was one of the legendary supreme intents, and even ranked above heavenly lightning intent. It was said that if the experts from the ancient times wanted to reincarnate, they had to have comprehended reincarnation intent. Other than that, if an reincarnated ancient expert wanted to awaken all of the memories of their past life, their reincarnation intent had to have reached a certain level. Neither Yi Zan nor the golden demonic ape would let go of such a precious treasure. The golden demonic ape had 5 mysterious patterns engraved on its body, which were derived from gold, fist, sound, wave and vibration intents. Compared to the black giant, it was undoubtedly much stronger. It was also able to fuse 3 intents, which meant that Yi Zan had to use the Tower of Heaven to defend himself. Suppress. After a long battle without making any headway, Yi Zan suddenly became impatient. This guy's physical strength was too terrifying. Even his perfect level sword intent was unable to harm it. Detestable human. I'm going to tear you apart. The golden demonic ape pounded its chest and let out a deafening roar. Its pupils were filled with unwillingness, and its right fist glowed with a bright golden light seemed to eclipse everything. However, at this moment, the Tower of Heaven released monstrous spiritual pressure and forcefully suppressed the golden demonic ape and stored it in its internal space. Buzz. At this moment, a ray of light flashed across the sky. Seeing this, Yi Zan could not help but smile. It was just the right time. Moments later, Yi Zan teleported and, as Shangguan Wan'er watched, grabbed the datura flower. What? It's actually the datura flower. Seeing this, Shangguan Wan'er's eyes widened as she stared at the strange red flower in Yi Zan's hand. The datura flower was a perfect match for the blood-red saber she had just obtained. Moreover, if she could refine the datura flower, she would definitely be able to comprehend perfect level sword intent using the epiphany opportunity provided when she consumed it. Why was this guy's luck so good? Why was he able to find such rare treasures one after another? She looked at Yi Zan with shock in her eyes. Are you very tempted? Do you want it? Yi Zan looked at Shangguan Wan'er, and the corners of his mouth curled up. She was tempted. How could she not be? However, her pride would never allow her to acknowledge Yi Zan as her teacher. She was the master of Luo Heaven Palace and the reincarnation of an ancient great empress. How could she become someone else's disciple? As long as you acknowledge me as your teacher, not only will I give you the Tower of Heaven, but this heart of heavenly lightning and the datura flower as well. I've never been stingy toward my disciples. Yi Zan looked at Shangguan Wan'er with a smile on his lips. Yi Zan suddenly had a funny thought. Compared to whether he could take Shangguan Wan'er as his disciple, he was more interested in seeing the conflicted expression on her face. This guy was really bad. He clearly knew that she really wanted it, but still deliberately said such things. The Tower of Heaven, the heart of heavenly lightning, and the datura flower. Which one of them was not a priceless rare heavenly treasure? If this guy really did as he said, then it might be worth it. No, no, no. Shangguan Wan'er, Shangguan Wan'er. As the reincarnation of an ancient great empress, you must not fall for his tricks. He's lying for sure. No one is that generous. Shangguan Wan'er pulled a long face and returned to her cold and aloof self. Do you really think I'm an idiot who will believe your lies? Don't mention this thing again, or I will never forgive you. However, Shangguan Wan'er's gaze still involuntarily fell on the datura flower in Yi Zan's hand. Seeing this, Yi Zan smiled. Just now, he had used the power of karma, and found that the karmic lines between him and Shangguan Wan'er had become thicker. My proud little empress, you will become my disciple sooner or later. Of course, now was not the best time to take in a disciple, and Shangguan Wan'er was still wary. Oh, Yi Zan looked at Shangguan Wan'er with a mocking gaze. Shangguan Wan'er was silent, turning her head away from Yi Zan. My future precious disciple, teacher has something to do and will take his leave first. Yi Zan took a step forward, and his figure suddenly disappeared, but his voice still echoed in the surroundings. Chapter 275. Is this guy that selfless? This is teacher's jade token. Once you've thought it through, just crush it and teacher will come and meet you. In the spot where he had been, a streak of light suddenly flew out and landed in front of Shangguan Wan'er, materializing into a jade token. Beastard. When Shangguan Wan'er saw this, she was stunned at first, and then she gritted her teeth and glared angrily in the direction Yi Zan had left. When did I agree to acknowledge him as my teacher? How dare he call me his precious disciple? Shangguan Wan'er's hand was filled with great power, and she was about to crush the jade token. However, she stopped herself. Looking at the shimmering jade token, Shangguan Wan'er took a deep breath and put it away. Moments later, her body turned into a streak of light and disappeared in the direction of the Miaoling region. Shangguan Wan'er wanted to use the power of the Luo Heaven Palace to investigate Yi Zan's identity. A monster like Yi Zan was not an ordinary person. Shangguan Wan'er was very curious. Where did Yi Zan come from? What was his identity? 2 days later, Shangguan Wan'er returned to Luo Heaven Palace. In an instant, the entire Miaoling region was mobilized. Whether it was the sects or the empires, they were all busy searching for Yi Zan's identity. Shangguan Wan'er also felt that she could only be her true self when she returned to Luo Heaven Palace. The dignity of an ancient great empress could not be violated by anyone. 2 days later, all of the information about Yi Zan was presented to Shangguan Wan'er. After examining Yi Zan's background, Shangguan Wan'er recalled the cultivator she had killed in the Lightning Tribulation Mystic Realm. That person had also said Yi Zan's name before he died. At that time, she had been quite puzzled and had been thinking that she had been mistaken for someone else. Was there another cultivator as freakish as her in this world? Now, it seemed that there was. He reached the 10th level of the Unity Realm at the age of 20 and comprehended many different kinds of supreme intents. This guy is definitely the reincarnation of an ancient almighty expert. As for becoming his disciple, at the thought of this, Shangguan Wan'er's eyes flickered. Is this guy really that good? Is he really willing to give such precious treasures to his disciples? Does such a kind person exist in this world? Shangguan Wan'er's right hand rubbed the jade token Yi Zan had given her, as she fell into deep thought. Hold on, how can I be having such thoughts? This guy is definitely lying to me. I must not be fooled. Shangguan Wan'er immediately dispelled the distracting thoughts and put away the jade token into her storage ring. After that, she took out the blood-red saber, planning to comprehend the slaughter intent within it. However, she soon faced an awkward problem. As soon as she closed her eyes, Yi Zan's figure would appear in her mind. What is this? Why would such a thing happen? Shangguan Wan'er's expression changed. Ever since she had awakened the memories of her previous life, she had been fully focused on cultivation. No other cultivator had piqued her interest before. This had now changed. Qingyan sect, Nanzhou region. As soon as Yi Zan returned to the sect, he found that the karmic line between him and Shangguan Wan'er had become more solid. Is that Tsunere Empress's imagination running wild for some reason? Yi Zan muttered to himself. Elsewhere, Shangguan Wan'er's cultivation had been disturbed by Yi Zan's matter, and she could not focus on her cultivation. Thus, in order to get rid of the distracting thoughts in her heart, Shangguan Wan'er once again examined the information about Yi Zan. When she learned of Yi Zan's deeds and the rapid rise of his disciples' strength within a short period of time, her heart was shaken. It seemed that this guy was really good to his disciples. He was actually willing to perform spiritual power infusion for them. However, there were certain risks to spiritual power infusion. The one with the weaker cultivation level might be unable to withstand the other party's power, and thus directly explode and die. Even if they were lucky enough to survive, their cultivation foundation would be greatly damaged, ending their cultivation journey and future. Therefore, even though spiritual power infusion sounded wonderful, the complexity and danger involved could not be underestimated. Shangguan Wan'er was not sure if Yi Zan's disciples had suffered similar fates, so she launched a detailed investigation on Yi Zan's disciples. However, the result was obvious. With Yi Zan's help, his disciples' cultivation levels had soared, to the point that their cultivation speed was almost on par with her own. If this continued, Yi Zan's disciples would definitely not be inferior to her in the future, and might even surpass her. Furthermore, they did not seem to suffer from any of the side effects of breaking through rapidly. Yi Zan must have taught his disciples spiritual sense-tempering techniques as well, which were incredibly precious. In the entirety of the Miaoling region, she was basically the only one who had the spiritual sense-tempering technique. Shangguan Wan'er felt that Yi Zan's actions were unbelievable. Were his disciples his biological daughters or something like that? Chapter 276. More gifts. Did this guy not need to cultivate himself? Spiritual power infusion consumed his own cultivation. Could it be that this guy was actually concealing his actual cultivation level? Could he be a lightning tribulation realm expert, or even higher? When she thought of this, she suddenly felt that it made a lot of sense. As she continued to fill in the blanks in her mind, Shangguan Wanner's desire to acknowledge Yizan as her teacher grew stronger, which distracted her from comprehending slaughter intent. Becoming Yizan's disciples no longer seemed disadvantageous. After all, the other party was the reincarnation of an ancient almighty expert, and his strength was terrifying. He could even give her those heavenly treasures, so what was there to hesitate about? However, her pride was her stumbling block. Given her achievements during her previous life, why would she rely on others? However, as time slowly passed, the idea of acknowledging Yizan as her teacher was gradually gaining the upper hand. She took out and put away the jade token that Yizan had given her again and again. Elsewhere, Yizan had already entered secluded cultivation in the cultivation room. This time, he would be in seclusion for a long time. As soon as he arrived at the Qingyan sect, Yizan gave the Heart of Heavenly Lightning to his disciples. However, the Heart of Heavenly Lightning contained extremely violent destructive energy. If one had not comprehended Heavenly Lightning intent, trying to refine it was akin to suicide. Given the current cultivation levels of Yu, Li Qingyan, and Zhao Yuyan, they simply could not resist the destructive power contained in the Heart of Heavenly Lightning. Therefore, Yizan used his own Heavenly Lightning to stabilize the Heart of Heavenly Lightning to ensure the safety of his disciples. After giving it away to his disciples, he received the system's rewards, which were more Hearts of Heavenly Lightning, albeit of a higher level. The Heart of Heavenly Lightning had a total of 9 levels, and each level contained a different level of Heavenly Lightning intent. The original Heart of Heavenly Lightning Yizan obtained in the Lightning Tribulation Mystic Realm was a 3rd-level Heart of Heavenly Lightning. After giving it to Zhao Yuyan, he obtained a 4th-level Heart of Heavenly Lightning. Following that, Yizan repeated the process with Li Qingyuan and Yu, and ended up with a 6th-level Heart of Heavenly Lightning. After giving it away, Yizan took back the Heart of Heavenly Lightning from his disciples. After all, this thing was extremely dangerous. Without his Heavenly Lightning intent, his disciples would not be able to resist the violent destructive power of the Heart of Heavenly Lightning. Although Yu and the others were confused by Yizan's actions, they did not question him. After all, in their eyes, everything their teacher did was right. I wonder if the system will give me more rewards if I keep the Hearts of Heavenly Lightning and give it to them again a month from now. An idea came to Yizan's mind. Of course, he also felt that it was somewhat unrealistic. After all, how could the system allow such a low-level bug? Moreover, he was unable to verify it at the moment. Changing his focus, he tore space apart and took out the Tower of Heaven from the space turbulence. He slowly refined the Heart of Heavenly Lightning. As for whether the bug worked, he would run an experiment in the future. The process of refining the Heart of Heavenly Lightning took a long time, and it could not be stopped halfway, though one's comprehension value reduced the time taken to a certain extent. Otherwise, the power of Heavenly Lightning within the Heart of Heavenly Lightning would dissipate instantly, and would completely go to waste. The reason why Yizan took out the Tower of Heaven was to avoid any interference from the outside world. Therefore, even if Shangguan Wanner crushed the jade token, Yizan would not respond. However, this was also good. That woman was very arrogant, so it would be good to give her the cold shoulder for a while. She would probably stomp her feet in anger if that happened. At the thought of this, Yizan's mouth couldn't help but curve up. Boom, boom, boom. In the vast space of the Tower of Heaven, the sky raged with endless heavenly lightning bolts, below which Yizan sat cross-legged, using the lightning bolts to temper his body as he refined the Heart of Heavenly Lightning. The higher the level of the Heart of Heavenly Lightning, the more difficult it would be to refine. If Yizan had chosen to refine the 3rd-level Heart of Heavenly Lightning, it would naturally not have been so difficult. However, Yizan would never make such a choice. As long as he refined the 6th-level Heart of Heavenly Lightning, his Heavenly Lightning intent would reach the 6th level, and he would be able to use it to engrave the profound pattern of Heavenly Lightning on his body. During this long refining process, Yizan's comprehension of Heavenly Lightning intent soared. Apart from that, the lightning bolts continuously tempered his physical body, transforming it and making it stronger than even some pattern condensation realm experts. Time slowly passed, and many things happened on the Tianyuan continent. The Tianyuan continent was divided into the 5 territories, which were Eastern, Western, Southern, Northern, and Central. The Southern territory was vast and contained nearly 200 zones. The Wangyu zone was one of them, located in the southwest of the Southern territory. At the extreme end of the southwest, there was a vast stormy sea. This stormy sea did not belong to the human race's territory, and there were countless demonic beasts living within it. However, because they lived in the sea, these demonic beasts were known as the sea race. During this period of time, the stormy sea was in turmoil. The sea race had attacked the human race frantically and had already caused many casualties. The Tian's zone was adjacent to the Wangyu zone and was a coastal area. Under the sea race's attack, many cultivators from many regions in the Tian's zone died, and many human cities and empires were conquered. Chapter 277, Demon Blood Clan. In the beginning, the sea race's targets were only the coastal regions. However, as time passed, the sea race gradually advanced toward the inner regions. During the war between the sea race and the human race, many top experts of the sea race appeared and massacred humans mercilessly. 3 regions had been turned into ruins. Were it not for the experts from both sides shifting the battle to the skies and the spatial turbulence, much more would have been destroyed. Even so, more than 30 billion humans had died. The terrifying number of casualties shocked the entire human race. The top experts from the surrounding regions of the Tian's zone tore space apart and traveled toward the stormy sea. The boundless stormy sea echoed with the sounds of collisions and battle cries as the experts from both sides fought a frenzied battle. In the end, the 2 races stopped fighting after paying a heavy price. However, the human experts knew that the sea race's ambition would not end here. They would definitely look for another opportunity to attack the humans. Since the ancient era, the sea race and the human race were mortal enemies to begin with, and they had already fought many times over the years. However, after the ancient era passed, the 2 races entered a period of rare peace. Although there were minor conflicts, it never involved the King Realm experts from both sides. The current invasion of the sea race signified that the situation on the Tianyuan continent was about to change. Wangyu Zone, Yunqing Region, Divine Gate Holy Land. Zhenlingtian had already returned to the Divine Gate Holy Land several months ago. He had been investigating Qian Daoliu's identity, and had finally found some clues with the help of the Divine Gate Holy Land. Qian Daoliu's main body might not be human. It seemed that he was a member of the Demon Blood Clan. Members of the Demon Blood Clan did not have a fixed form. Their true form was the blood from which their bodies were condensed. They could take on any form. It was said that in the ancient era, when the Tianyuan continent had not been divided into territories, the Demon Blood Clan was extremely powerful and occupied a large portion of the continent. Their strength far exceeded that of the human race. However, under the leadership of a human ruler, the human race dominated the Tianyuan continent within an extremely short amount of time, and became the absolute overlord of the races on the continent. Since then, the Demon Blood Clan had gradually disappeared without a trace. However, they could transform into human form and hide among humans. Unless one had a powerful spiritual sense, it was almost impossible to tell the difference. In this case, although Qian Daoliu was a human, he had been possessed by a Demon Blood Clan expert. To be more precise, by a wisp of a Demon Blood Clan expert's soul. That demonic Blood Clan expert's true strength had most likely reached the King Realm. The realm above the Lightning Tribulation realm was the King Realm. Cultivators who survived the 3 tribulations passed the tests that the Heavenly Tao gave them, and would become King Realm experts. At that level, even if they did not possess spatial intent, they would be able to tear space apart and establish their own miniature world. The size of the miniature world was relative to the strength of its creator. The Moon Demon Mystic Realm was a miniature world established by the master of the Moon Demon Holy Land, though he also invited that ancient almighty expert to assist him. After discovering Qian Daoliu's main body's identity, Zhenlingtian's expression became extremely grave. Although several months had passed, and there was no trace of Qian Daoliu's main body, he was still uneasy. He had not thought that they would be dealing with an existence that was likely to be a King Realm expert. Even though he had great faith in Yizan, a King Realm expert was something beyond their reach at the moment. From the looks of it, they would have to rely on the power of the Divine Gate Holy Land. Otherwise, not only would he and Zhao Yuzhen die, but the entire Nanzhou region would also be destroyed. At the thought of this, Zhenlingtian no longer hesitated and hurriedly contacted a certain almighty expert from the Divine Gate Holy Land. When he had just arrived at the Divine Gate Holy Land, he had wanted to contact this person. Unfortunately, he was in secluded cultivation at the time, so he had to wait patiently. Normally, an almighty expert like him would be in secluded cultivation for hundreds of years. Fortunately, the invasion of the sea race forced the human race's experts to respond, and the almighty expert ended his secluded cultivation ahead of time. After waiting some time, Zhun Lingtian was summoned by that almighty expert. Lingtian, have you encountered some trouble? In a resplendent ancient hall, a black-haired old man sat cross-legged on a throne as he looked at Zhun Lingtian. Although the old man had a kind smile on his face, Zhun Lingtian still felt nervous. This old man was the ancestor of the Divine Gate Holy Land, and an extremely powerful existence. He could not afford to be the slightest bit negligent. Zhun Lingtian hurriedly recounted the entire incident. I understand. To be so monstrous at such a young age, Yizan's background must be extraordinary. You've made the right choice. As for the Tower of Heaven, since he has obtained it, that's his opportunity. This person is very likely blessed by fate. You must maintain a good relationship with him. The black-haired old man muttered to himself for a moment before he spoke. Buzz. At this moment, 2 jade tokens suddenly appeared in front of Zhun Lingtian. Zhun Lingtian's heart was filled with shock. He had not sensed any aura fluctuations just now. The ancestor was truly powerful. These 2 jade tokens were the life-saving trump cards the ancestor had given him. Lingtian thanks ancestor. Zhun Lingtian accepted them with an excited expression. Of course, he knew in his heart that one of the jade tokens was to be given to Yizan. The appearance of the Tower of Heaven will definitely attract the covetous eyes of many experts. I will personally settle this matter. You can go back now. Zhun Lingtian bowed respectfully to the old man, and then left the ancient hall and headed for the Nanzhou region. Half a month later, Zhun Lingtian arrived at the Qingyan sect. He originally wanted to give the jade token to Yizan, but soon learned that the latter was in secluded cultivation. Zhun Lingtian thought for a moment and chose to stay in the Great Qian dynasty to wait for Yizan to end his secluded cultivation session. Chapter 278. Yizan, you beastard. Time passed slowly, and in the blink of an eye, half a year had passed. Miaoling region, Luo Heaven Palace. Shangguan Hua sat quietly on her throne, and the jade token Yizan left behind appeared in her hand again. After struggling for half a year, Shangguan Huaner had finally made a decision. After half a year of reflection, Shangguan Huaner decided to give up her pride as the reincarnation of an ancient great empress and her dignity as the master of the Luo Heaven Palace to become Yizan's disciple. This is just a deal I'm making in order to become stronger. When my strength recovers to the peak of my previous life, I'll reimburse him for his troubles in the future, Shangguan Huaner said stubbornly. Moments later, she crushed the jade token. After that, she waited quietly in the main hall. In the blink of an eye, a day passed. 2 days. 5 days. 15 days. As more and more time passed, Shangguan Huaner's expression gradually turned ugly. Yizan, you bastard. You actually dared to mess with me like this. Shangguan Huaner gritted her teeth in anger, and a terrifying aura erupting from her body. She was boiling with anger. Other than anger, she felt embarrassed and awkward. Over the past 6 months, she had struggled internally before finally convincing herself to do this. However, after waiting half a month, she did not even see Yizan's shadow. Fortunately, this was a matter between the two of them, so her reputation remained intact. Her aura spread throughout Luo Heaven Palace, which frightened the cultivators there. The closer they got to the palace master's hall, the more they could sense her bone-chilling aura. Who was it that made the palace master angry? No one dared to ask. Detestable. How could I believe that beastard's nonsense? I was too naive. Shangguan Huaner took a deep breath as she tried to calm her agitated emotions. Buzz. Moments later, Shangguan Huaner's figure turned into a streak of light and disappeared before reappearing outside. Greetings, Palace Master. The cultivators of Luo Heaven Palace quickly greeted her with respect. No one knew Shangguan Huaner's exact cultivation level, only that she was almost invincible in the Miaoling region. When Shangguan Huaner had established the Luo Heaven Palace, she had beaten up almost every super force in the Miaoling region. No one was her match. Of course, there were still some old monsters with terrifying strength in the Miaoling region, but these existences did not act. I'm going to leave the Miaoling region to do something in the Nanzhou region for some time. All of you, cultivate well. After giving a simple briefing, Shangguan Huaner disappeared. After crossing nearly 20 regions, Shangguan Huaner finally arrived in the Nanzhou region. Qingyan sect of the Great Qian dynasty. Is this the sect Yizan is from? Shangguan Huaner looked at the Qingyan sect and narrowed her eyes. Although the spiritual energy density here was greater than the rest of the Great Qian dynasty, it paled in comparison to the Luo Heaven Palace. Shangguan Wan'er was also an outstanding formation master, alchemist, and artifact refiner. These were the benefits of having memories from her previous life. After all, some experts from the ancient era would study many things when they were bored after their strength reached a bottleneck. When the Luo Heaven Palace was first established, Shangguan Wan'er had chosen the place with the densest spiritual energy in the Miaoling region and had set up a powerful formation there. Not only could it absorb the surrounding spiritual energy from all over the Miaoling region, but it could also extract void power from the spatial turbulence. Therefore, not to mention the Great Qian dynasty, there was no sect in the entire Nanzhou region that could compare. How had such a barren place actually given birth to a monstrous genius like Yi Zan? This fellow is definitely hiding his strength. There's no way he's just a Unity realm expert. He's very likely surpassed the pattern condensation realm. Perhaps there's some reason why he's living in such a backward place. In her opinion, Yi Zan was living here to avoid the attention of the top expert of the Tianyuan continent. After all, being noticed by those almighty experts might not be a good thing, especially those from other races, who might try to assassinate him. Buzz. Just as Shangguan Wan'er arrived at the Qingyan sect, the space not far away suddenly rippled, and Zhun Lingtian's figure appeared. Seeing this, Shangguan Wan'er only spared Zhun Lingtian a brief glance before ignoring him. What puzzled her was that she could not detect Yi Zan's aura in the Qingyan sect. Chapter 279. The Empress, Excuses. The Master of Luo Heaven Palace. Zhun Lingtian looked at Shangguan Wan'er warily. He recognized her after thinking about it for a while. It seems you know me, Shangguan Wan'er replied indifferently. She did not look at Zhun Lingtian, but instead continued to scan the surroundings for Yi Zan's aura. In the Nanzhou region, this person's strength was not bad. Were it not for Yi Zan, this guy would probably be the most powerful person in the Nanzhou region. 5 Pattern Condensation Realm Expert. This was Zhun Lingtian's strength. However, he had never revealed his full strength in front of others. He had been waiting at the Qingyan sect for a long time just to give Yi Zan the ancestor's jade token. Why had the most powerful person in the Miaoling region suddenly come here? You are the master of the Luo Heaven Palace, and the most powerful person in the Miaoling region. How could I not recognize you? Zhun Lingtian smiled politely. Shangguan Wan'er's talent was also extremely monstrous. It had only taken her a few decades to establish the Luo Heaven Palace by herself. Such talent was worthy of being called a peerless monster, even in the Wangyu zone. Previously, the Divine Gate Holy Land had tried to recruit her, but they were rejected. Although Shangguan Wan'er heard Zhun Lingtian's words, she could not be bothered to respond to him. Zhun Lingtian could not help but reveal an awkward expression. It was rumored that the master of the Luo Heaven Palace had a cold temperament, and few people could talk to her. In addition, there was a saying in the Wangyu zone among cultivators that it was best not to be arrogant and provoke Shangguan Wan'er, or the consequences would be very bad. This saying had been proven right by a number of scions from the aristocratic families who had tried to pursue Shangguan Wan'er. Many of them were now either dead or injured, depending on how badly they had messed up. Zhun Lingtian was naturally aware of this, so he immediately kept quiet. He did not know Shangguan Wan'er's exact strength, but he definitely did not want to provoke the most powerful person in the Miaoling region. Do you know where Yi Zan is? After a long time, Shangguan Wan'er finally turned her head to look at Zhun Lingtian. Zhun Lingtian narrowed his eyes. As expected, this woman had indeed come for Yi Zan. However, how did Yi Zan get to know Shangguan Wan'er? I still have unfinished business with him, and I need to see him in person, Shangguan Wan'er continued indifferently. There was no way she was going to tell Zhun Lingtian that she was here to acknowledge Yi Zan as her teacher. Besides, she had personally come to the Nanzhou region to teach Yi Zan a lesson. If Yi Zan could not give her a reasonable explanation as to why he ignored her, she would personally let him know why flowers were so red. I see. Zhun Lingtian did not question Shangguan Wan'er's words. As long as there was no enmity between the two, it was not a big deal to reveal Yi Zan's whereabouts. He's currently in secluded cultivation in the Qingyan sect, Zhun Lingtian said. Secluded cultivation. Hearing this, Shangguan Wan'er's eyes flickered. Do you know how long he has been in seclusion? It should be around half a year. Half a year. Hearing this, Shangguan Wan'er's dissatisfaction with Yi Zan dissipated significantly. Ah, so that's how it was. That guy didn't deliberately ignore her. He was cultivating in seclusion this entire time. It seems that I have misunderstood. I hope he doesn't take offense to the fact that I traveled all the way here. When she thought of this, the anger in Shangguan Wanner's heart disappeared, and she even felt a little happy. The moment this thought appeared, Shangguan Wanner jumped up in shock. What was going on? How could I think like that? No matter what, it's all this guy's fault. He was the one who told me to crush the jade token once I thought it through. It's all this guy's fault that my imagination ran wild while he was in seclusion. No matter what, he has to give me a reasonable explanation. Otherwise, I will never acknowledge him as my teacher. Shangguan Wanner would naturally not admit to the thoughts in the depths of her heart. If that's the case, then I'll wait for him at the Qingyan sect. Shangguan Wanner made her decision. Moments later, Shangguan Wanner stretched out her hand and tore space apart and entered the spatial turbulence. Although she said she would wait, she did not want to be seen waiting. What if people thought that she was here to find a partner? Zhun Lingtian also found a mountain peak near the Qingyan sect and began to cultivate. Rip. When Shangguan Wanner tore space apart and entered spatial turbulence around the Qingyan sect, she suddenly saw the Tower of Heaven floating there. So this guy was hiding here. Seeing this, Shangguan Wanner realized why she could not detect Yizan's aura. It was because he was hiding in the spatial turbulence. Since you're in seclusion, I'll wait for you to come out. Shangguan Wanner looked at the Tower of Heaven with a hint of envy in her eyes. After that, Shangguan Wanner sat cross-legged to cultivate and comprehend slaughter intent, which she had been focused on for the past 6 months. Shangguan Wanner's comprehension value was 798 points, and with her previous experience of comprehending other martial intents, she had already comprehended first-level slaughter intent. However, it was only up to there. After all, the higher the level, the greater the difficulty. Furthermore, because she was occupied with Yizan's matter, Shangguan Wanner's slaughter intent had not made any progress after her initial breakthrough. If she wanted to break through to higher levels, she needed spiritual items that would allow her to experience an epiphany. Chapter 280. Profound Pattern. Even Shangguan Wanner, who was the reincarnation of an ancient great empress, had only obtained a total of 3 spiritual items that would allow her to experience an epiphany. Thus, the datura flower was fatally attractive to her. Shangguan Wanner took a deep breath and adjusted her condition. Then, she used her spiritual sense to start examining and comprehending the slaughter intent contained within the blood-red saber. Since she was no longer worried about Yizan's matter, she could calmly focus on cultivation and comprehension. Half a year had passed in the blink of an eye. It had been a year since Yizan began his secluded cultivation. In this 1 year, the Qingyan sect was peaceful and steadily developing. During this time, Yizan's deeds had already spread throughout the Wangyu zone, and many powerful experts had already learned of Yizan's existence, as well as the fact that he had obtained the Tower of Heaven. Some had ill intentions and wanted to take action. However, at the crucial moment, the ancestor of the Divine Gate Holy Land stepped forward personally, intimidating them. However, after some time, the sea race launched another small invasion, and there were small-scale conflicts with the humans. After hearing that the Sea Race's King Realm expert might make a move, the ancestor of the Divine Gate Holy Land personally went to the Tian's zone. With the ancestor gone, those experts with ill intentions began to stir once again. The Tower of Heaven was the greatest opportunity in the Moon Demon mystic realm, as well as a powerful artifact. Yet it was now in the hands of a cultivator from a small empire. It was extremely tempting. As the saying goes, birds die for food, and humans die for wealth. When the benefits outweighed the losses, there would naturally be people who would take the risk. If they could obtain the Tower of Heaven for themselves, it would be a great boost to their strength. Of course, they naturally knew that Yizan's talent was extremely monstrous, and if they touched Yizan, it was very likely to invoke the weather of the ancestor of the Divine Gate Holy Land. Even so, there were still quite a few people who were willing to do so. Moreover, the ancestor only focused on restraining the King Realm experts. As a King Realm expert, they believed that he would not stoop so low as to bully Lightning Tribulation Realm and Pattern Condensation Realm cultivators. Yizan, who was concentrating on refining the heart of heavenly lightning, was unaware of all this. However, soon, Yizan's refinement of the heart of heavenly lightning was finally completed. In the inner space of the Tower of Heaven, Yizan hovered in the sky, surrounded by the thousands of lightning bolts, and the surrounding space rippled with destructive power. His strength had undergone a huge transformation. Not only did his heavenly lightning intent break through, but the strength of his body had also reached an unimaginable level. Every inch of his body and every cell in his body was filled with destructive lightning power. 3 days later, amidst the dark spatial turbulence, bright purple heavenly lightning suddenly flashed. It contained a faint wisp of the laws of the world. Moments later, heavenly lightning struck the Tower of Heaven. What? When Shangguan Wan'er saw this, she jolted to her senses. What's going on? Shangguan Wan'er's gaze fell on the heavenly lightning, and her expression became extremely grave. The power contained within it was enough to make even her heart palpitate. Such powerful supreme intent. What did this guy do? Her gaze was fixed on the Tower of Heaven. Inside, Yi Zan's tightly shut eyes slowly opened, and bright purple heavenly lightning flashed across the depths of his eyes. The very next second, a bolt of destructive heavenly lightning flashed by, tearing space apart. Even the ground trembled. Boom! With the appearance of the heavenly lightning, profound patterns started to condense, releasing terrifying spiritual pressure into the surroundings, which seeped out into the spatial turbulence, and even out into the Qingyan sect. Such power. Zhun Lingtian, who was meditating, turned pale. Profound pattern. Could it be a profound pattern derived from heavenly lightning intent? At the thought of this, Zhun Lingtian's pupils contracted abruptly, and his eyes were filled with shock. Everyone else in the surroundings also felt the pressure, which made their bodies and souls tremble uncontrollably. In the inner space of the Tower of Heaven, Yi Zan stretched out his hand and pointed toward the sky. A profound pattern suddenly appeared in the sky. If ordinary cultivators were to take a look at it, their souls would be severely injured. However, Yi Zan was not affected by it in the slightest. The wondrous pattern was reflected in his pupils, and it bloomed with resplendent divine light. And it bloomed with resplendent divine